The GroupLayer object has a layers property that will list the layers in that group layer. They are listed as either GroupLayer objects or as FeatureLayer objects. So let's check it out. Open up the GroupLayer layers.py script from the GroupLayers folder. We'll first use the map content object layers property to return a list of objects, FeatureLayer objects and GroupLayer objects from our main map. We can then grab the GroupLayer object from that list and then use the GroupLayer object layers property to print the layers within our group layers. Once more, this layers property is going to return a list of FeatureLayer objects or group objects that are in our group layer. Just remember that these FeatureLayer objects are different than the WebMap layer JSON from our operational layers. Let's head over to documentation for the GroupLayer object layers property. Here we have the layers property for the group object. It returns a list of layers in the group layer. Not a lot of information there. It does not return a JSON definition. It returns a FeatureLayer object or a GroupLayer object if that group layer has a subgroup. Let's go from here to ArcGIS Online. Here we have the current state of our web map. We have our NPWS designated boundaries group sitting at index 1 in this layers list. County boundaries is index 0 and then our group layer is at index 1, and we're going to access this group layer and print the layers list of screen. So we should have 4 feature layer objects in our layers list. Let's head to PyScripter and check it out. We'll first access ArcGIS Online. We'll then use the content manager get method and supply in our WebMap item ID, which I'll paste in now for my notepad. The get method returns an item object that will assign to a variable called WebMap item. We'll then use that item object to create our map object, which will assign to a variable called WebMap. Next, we want to get our group layer object. So we use our map object and the content property, which is a map content object. That map content object has a property called layers. And we're going to access the second element of the list returned by layers, which is our group object. We saw from our web map that our group layer sits at index 1 in the layers list. We'll assign that group object to a variable called GroupLayer. We're now going to access the GroupLayer object layers property itself. And we're going to print the screen. So we'll print our GroupLayer dot layers to screen. Let's run the script. Our script is complete. We can see we were returned a list, and that list contains 4 feature layer objects that represent the 4 layers in our web map. Now these feature layer objects do not represent how these layers are presented in our web map. It is where these layers are referenced from outside the web map. You can see here that this is the URL to the NPWS feature server and accessing the first layer, the second layer, the third layer, and the fourth. In this video, we saw the group layers object layers property in action, where it returned a list of feature layer objects from within our group layer. The feature layer objects represent where those layers in our group layer are being referenced from in ArcGIS Online.